Going on YouTube? Josh here checking in, back with another video for you guys. So today I actually wanted to talk briefly on the topic of mental toughness. And as that relates to lifting, and of course that relates to life and the bigger picture, right? So what I'm really getting at here is that oftentimes you'll see people in the gym of all levels, from beginners to people who've been lifting for years and years and years. And when they're asked to be pushed really hard, there's often a lot of talk about how they're at the limit. They are basically doing as much as they possibly can. Now, the interesting thing is that I would argue that most people are probably not at the limit. Most people who say that they really can't do any more, they're not lying, but they just don't realize that they have a lot more in them. So this applies to all different kinds of stuff in lifting. So for example, oftentimes, when I'm working with clients, I like them to estimate the rate of perceived exertion using the RPE scale. It's not uncommon that somebody will tell me it's an RPE 8, and I look at the video and I kind of chuckle to myself because I know that they've got easily 4 or 5 reps in them if they really push themselves. But it's just a matter of learning what that feels like. That's one thing. Another thing that often happens when it comes to training for powerlifting, you're not accustomed to a high amount of volume, generally speaking. Doing squats for anything more than sets of 6 for most powerlifters is basically considered a form of punishment. But the reality is that you could probably do it. You just need to suck it up and make it happen. Now, what I would argue is that most people don't know their limits just because they've never been there before, right? You never know. So I personally, attribute my experience training in martial arts to this. So I actually got my first black belt at 13, and I had to push myself, and it was very intense, especially for a 13-year-old. And I kind of learned that what I thought I was capable of, I had no idea, no clue. Now, the thing that's really amazing, that's no big deal, and reality is I really probably have no clue what my limits are, what I'm capable of. What's really impressive are people who really push it. So you look at any of the special operations in the military, look at the Navy SEALs, look at the training they have to go through just to become a Navy SEAL. Not even forget about the missions that they go on, how incredible those are. Just think about what it takes to get there. Now, if you're not familiar with any of that, I would definitely encourage you to go read about it. There's a really good book, Lone Survivor, that goes through one of their missions that they went on. It discusses a lot of the training. Really good book. And if you're not familiar with it, you'll realize how much of an effing pussy you probably are, because most people, in fact, most of the people who even try to be Navy SEALs don't even make it through the training, just because it's that grueling. Another area where this is interesting is looking at survivors of massive accidents. So whether it be, for example, a plane goes down in the middle of the ocean and you're floating around in a raft for 30 or 40 days, and there are people who have survived that, and it's mostly because they were mentally extremely tough. There are tons of different survival stories out there, and I'd encourage you to look up on that kind of thing, because that's really, that's impressive. That's pushing to the limit. You've got no clue. The stuff that we do in the gym is nothing compared to that sort of a situation. So, that's really all that I had to say. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I just want to share it with you guys. So if you guys have any feedback on that, if you guys have experienced this yourselves where you kind of, push the limit and learn that you're capable of a lot more than you think you've been, definitely let me know about that. Post that in the comment section. Share your experiences. Do you think I'm being too harsh? Is this just lifting? Tell me the honest truth. How do you feel about this? So anyway, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a like. If you're not subscribing, hit that subscribe button.